We're rocking and rolling now. Lynn and I were talking about actually setting up every other week a healing circle, one on Tuesday in the morning and at 12 noon my time, Mountain Daylight Time, and the other one is actually going to be uh, in the evening hours at I believe 6:30, the Healing Circle on Tuesdays for the alternating week. So that would be going instead of once a month for having the Healing Circles happening. And then we'll always have the gathering, which will be on Wednesday. And so please do take advantage of that. Uh, the gathering, this is awesome because in the gathering, what we're doing is having people ask questions, and I'll answer through the best of my heart. And so, yeah, Lynn's putting the information up in the sidebar there. And let's see, then sometimes I'll work with healing with people in the gathering, and because there's been so much request for that. And then we'll be getting into, at the very end, a meditation. So, other than that, I'm grateful for Lynn. She helps me out so much, and I'd be lost technically and also in other ways with the organization if she weren't around. So thank you very, very much, Lynn. I appreciate that. And the internet allows me to teach around the world. And so there's people from Germany, there's people from Japan, Marika, and Mariko, and there's other people as well that are plugging in, which is really nice, and mostly in the United States, of course. But technology is fantastic. Too bad I don't know much about it. So, let me see here. Christina, hey, good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome. And I pray Steve is doing well after his birthday celebrations. So, give him my love, please. And then, let's see, I also have appointments available. Lynn will be putting that information up. Um, and I might be able to, when I'm working with the appointment, I might be able to see uh, the influences, maybe family influences, even if someone in the family has passed. So, uh, I don't know when I'm going to see something, how I'm going to see something, why. The last event that we just had, it was interesting. Uh, yes, thank you, Lynn. And I was able to see things at times. It just came upon me. I call that spontaneity of the spirit. If it fits into the situation that we're talking about, I might be shown something, and or a relative might come through or something like that, or someone in the past. I don't know. It's not of my control. I don't do the psychic stuff. I don't term it like that. Sometimes I'll term it as being a seer, but it's spontaneity of the spirit when it does happen, and I allow that, for that to be, and that's just the way that I am. It's an availability to a gift that I haven't developed, and I don't necessarily want to go off track in what I do and splinter myself. So, Linda will be putting that up, Christina. Uh, she'll be putting up, I think, either tonight or tomorrow, if I'm correct. So, um, let's see. I do, with the appointments, as I always tell everyone, I won't give you a lot of detail about that, but um, the appointments are either through Zoom or telephone or FaceTime, whatever a person's preference. And um, let's see, I already talked about the gathering, and I've already talked about, the healing circle and stuff like that. So, um, my friend Sue, she, let me try to refresh this darn thing because it's stopped. There we go. My apologies. And okay. So my friend Sue, she has a question. Hey Roxy, good to see you. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. All the way from New York. And uh, that's a real windy city there. That in Chicago. Sue, my friend, she wrote, a friend has asked, I'm going to move this a little bit. It started off a little rocky here. No sound on the computer, and then I had to go to my phone, and now I'm trying to shift this darn thing to get a perspective of questions. There we go. That might make a difference. I hope I'm not too tilted for everyone. So, all right. Hey, Nini, good to see you here. Thanks for being here. My friend Sue wrote and asked a question. A friend had asked for prayers for travel and for her work, helping a best friend care for a dying father. You have said that every thought, every word, every action is one's living prayer. And hey, Kim, good to see you here. Thanks for being here, my friend. And she also wrote, my friend is in my thoughts, but please talk about the daily or nightly prayers that you do for others and gratitude. I also mentioned to her about I've told lots of people this, that I have a little altar that I have that has a candle on it, an eternal flame that keeps on going. And I see that as a representative of God in my life and in that room where I have it. So I go directly to that. And so the prayers that, and she was saying that the altar doesn't necessarily work for her. It's not conducive in her environment, and I understand that. And so what I do, Sue, is just consider that we are almost always in prayer anyway. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll wake up in the morning with someone in mind, and say I'll have a thought that comes to me as I'm waking up of that person. Hey Jane, good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. And so, you know, as I wake up with that in mind, it's an indication for me to wonder about that person. And I'll try to catch myself and realize that I could say a prayer for them. Because here you are groggy when you're waking up. You're not of the most alert mind always, sometimes, but not always. And so I'll try to catch myself and realize that I can say a prayer for them from within my heart. Because I know that this is my life. This is what I do. And I like to keep that in mind and function in that way. And I go through my day with that in mind. Hi, Roxy. And so I'll say a prayer for them from within my heart, and then I just get out of Dodge. I finish it, and I accept it. I know it within me. Mostly at night, you know, I find a quiet place, and I say prayers for each person's needs, you know, that I've had contact with or that come to mind. And, you know, it doesn't take too long, but you spend time doing it, and you're looking at what we want to see with that person from our heart. Say if they're injured, we want to see them healing really quick, and or an intercession in their life that all of a sudden their injury is corrected in some way or another. And if I don't, you know, kneel before my little altar, which is just a habit I've had for many, many years, a long time. And I think about 47 years I've been doing that kind of thing. So if I'm not doing that, I also know that over the many, many years, what I've done at times is I'll take a walk at night or during the day sometime where I'm not going to be interacting with people. and or I'll go in my backyard, and um, and I'll do my prayer work then. And for me, it's quiet, and it's like a retreat. Um, and the main moderator of the retreat is God, and it's like an isolation between God and I. And in this isolation, I can purposefully commune in my mind, in my perception of what communion is becoming one. So I'll say a prayer as if I'm in that mind of that divinity, that godliness, that great creator. And I can purposely commune in that mind by doing that. And always, at the end of the prayer, I want to get out of Dodge. I want to stop, when I'm finished. I don't want to go into a lot of superfluous chatter because I just want to, it's like the old thing for guys, just give me the facts, ma'am. And so here I am, I'm relating to that divinity, that godliness, and that's my communion. And then I say thanks. And as I'm saying thanks, at the same time, I'm picturing a completion or an answer in the perfection of that prayer. So that's what I do, Sue. And it can be, sitting out front, no one's around. Say if someone comes around, you stop it and you pick it up when they leave. And so whatever is necessary. And so that's my way of expressing prayer. Then my friend Michelle, she wrote, certainly felt the healing for Ari. He stopped his hour-long ranting immediately. Thank you. I was just curious if she's here tonight, Michelle, my friend, or she will be later on the replay. And in the replay, please let me know, or text me, or email me, whatever, how Ori is doing. Ori is a child, and so it has all this growing pain stuff in it. And then my friend Julian, excuse me, I got to have a lot of water today. And Julian, he asked me, hi Mark, if we wonder about something in meditation, should this include thoughts, or should it be silent wondering without much thought? If we wonder about something in meditation, should this include thoughts, or should it be silent wondering without much thought? Thank you. And I wrote, or I'm answering his question, that if we wonder about something in meditation, then the thoughts should come to you. And if it's my thoughts, then I stop and I start the meditation over again. This is what trains the wild mind. And it trains it from distractions, from misleadings, and from sabotage. Always. If you can control the mind, this is what controlling the mind is. You're telling it to take a seat, and you'll be coming back to it, giving it attention, but not just yet, you're busy. And so you go back to what you were wondering about in your what you wanted to meditate about in the wonderings, and you let the answers come to you. And again, I know that when the thoughts come to me and I start culminating in my head, or I start going some other place, I stop, and I start again. And if it's so uncontrollable, I say, okay, I'll try you later, and I'll start later, and I stop for then, and I have another time that I'll work with the meditation. And this is, again, what trains the wild mind from distractions, from all the misleadings that it wants to share, and all the sabotages. And for me, my training and understanding and experience is that we are either thinking or we're allowing the thought in the mind of a greater creator to come into us in hearing and or seeing. So either we're thinking, or the opposite side of that, or another side of that, is that we're allowing the great creator to express through us and to share with us. And we can either ask a question and get an answer that way, or we can make a statement and get an elaboration on that. But it's always for the things that we didn't have the answers for before. We're wondering what they are. And the deeper we wonder, the greater the information that will come to us. And this happens, all the hearing and seeing that we perceive in our meditation happens through our knowing. That's how we perceive these things, through our knowing. And so when this happens, when we get an answer, it'll be something that we already don't know. And it's an answer to something or an elaboration of something that we don't know the answers to. And then if we pursue that answer, say if it's how to do something, and we just can't figure it out. How do I do this? How do I do this? And then an answer will come to you. And it'll be something that is usable in our life. It can be used for anything. And also, when we do have a perceptive answer, we can challenge it. So whenever I get an answer of something really spiritual or really a great revelation, I don't care if the voice says or the vision shows that it's God. I don't ever accept it until I challenge it. And the answer originally should come to you in a very simplistic way with lots of information. But then if you challenge it by saying, what do you mean? Or I don't understand. But it won't be showing you anything you don't understand. But if you say, tell me more, or what do you mean? You'll get an elaboration on that answer, which will be volumes more information. So the tool of meditation is available to us if we're not thinking. Otherwise, we're controlling, and that's just not going to cut, the butter, whatever it is. And so I always keep in mind, whenever I get an answer for something or an understanding about something, I wonder, tell me more, or show me more, or something to that nature. And I always keep my questions that I'm asking in meditation really simple, really simple. And then I'm not changing them all the time, or looking for a different answer from what I was looking for before in a question. I'm keeping it together always. And I always go into a meditation with a specific question that I'm asking, and I don't settle for anything less. And that's just the way that I do this stuff. So the thinking doesn't have a place in there, and I don't allow it to have a place. And when it does come in, I say, wait over there, I'll be right back. And then I go back to the wondering about my question. Or if it's a statement you want more of an answer to, it will give you an elaboration to that through your knowing, which is what you see and hear through. So, and I always keep in mind to challenge it. So please, if you want to try that too, it's awesome. But in order to meditate in this way, it only takes persistence, nothing else. Just takes persistence and practice to get this type of meditation down. I remember one time, and I've told this story before. I remember one time that I was sitting down in my living room when I was living in Chicago, and I was saying, "Okay, God, show me something of the future." And I was working at, no, I wasn't working at Motorola then. It was prior to that. And so, and I just closed my eyes and I asked the question again, show me something of the future, a new thing. And so what happened was I saw a Rand McNally map, and in the middle of the map was with all the roads and streets or whatever, highways and stuff, there was a little cursor in there. And I looked at it and I said, what is this? And a voice said to me, Pathfinder. And so I just thought it was really neat. There wasn't anything like this in existence. And so several years later, I was working at Motorola, and I was really good friends with several engineers there. And we used to hang out together, go, camping together, do all kinds of stuff. And so I asked them about this, ever, have an idea about this, what it could be? They said, nothing like that exists. And they were engineers, and they knew about electronics, and they knew, all kinds of technical stuff. And they said, nah, it doesn't exist. And it was 7 years later that the GPS came out. But what I was picking up on was what was in the mind of man, woman, kind. And they're thinking about it, processing it, and learning to develop something like that. And that's when the technology came out for the GPS. So we have the ability to ask about things and be shown about them. Why it was called Pathfinder, who knows? Maybe the person who was coming up with the idea somewhere in the world thought of that name, or there wasn't a name for it, so the voice gave me that name, Pathfinder, until GPS came out and replaced that name of Pathfinder. So we have access to this intelligent mind that knows all that's within it. And if it's something for our needs or something of our desires that we would like to fit into or understand, it will share with us if it pertains to us in what we're doing or what we're asking. And I've seen many, many things that pertain to that mind that does share so freely. And it's our own restrictions. And let's see. All right, Roxy, your jaw. What I'd like to do, it's on your right side. So it's really important, Roxy, that you just sit back and don't have any understandings of what's happening, why, or anything else. And no thinkings or predeterminations of what's going to happen with this. I don't know. I never do. I pretty much leave it to the old man or old woman upstairs in the way that it wants to do it. And so I allow that to happen. Oh, it's good. So it's healed then. That's awesome. Did I work on it at all, or am I just going under presumption that I did? Okay, all right, good. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, all right, thanks. I appreciate that, Roxy. Good. Please, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that. My pleasure. So, tell me something. Is there, Christina, there's going to be a little delay in all this stuff in my message and me reading it back from you, but how are you doing? How are you doing, Christina? And how's that neck? Is it any better? Do you have an understanding about it now? Please share with me when you get this. Let's see. Then my friend Kathy, she wrote, trying to be aware of energies and transmuting negative anger, vibrational energies to a positive, loving thought. Well, my answer to that is I function best when I'm not aware of the energies, of the destructive energies. No, let me rephrase that. I am conscious of them. I'm aware of the. Yes, I did, Diana, and I'll get to those too. They're good questions. I love them. And I'm conscious of the destructive energies. I call them destructive. And so I'll not allow myself to be subject to participating in them, and or in that atmosphere of whatever of that destructive stuff. If I'm stuck in a situation of people being like that, what I'll do is I'll just know otherwise, in understanding that it's the way that they were indoctrinated into life and survival, basically. And so I remember one time I was working at Motorola. This is a long time ago. And so when I first started there, I didn't know anyone. I wanted to be friends with people, whatever, and get along with people. So there was a bunch of guys in the main aisle right before the shift started that were talking. So I went up to them, and they just looked at me, and they continued the conversation. And I wanted to see if I could fit into the conversation, or what they were saying, if it pertained to anything of my life or whatever that I can participate in. And so they were swearing. They were talking about really vile things, about doing things and elaborating on them, destructive things to other people and women and all kinds of stuff. And they were chuckling it all up. They thought it was great. And so, and they looked at me for my reactions. And so I saw where they were coming from. And so I just listened, and I nodded my head, but I knew otherwise within myself, and I just didn't like being like that, and I didn't contribute to a conversation like that, and I won't. It just hasn't been my nature since I was a kid. And so I'll just know otherwise in my understanding, and that's the way that they were brought up in life, and that they were taught, and how they get along with people and their survivals and stuff. And so it happens only because I knew otherwise. There was no resistance or being obstinate or stubborn in my way or anything else. I just stayed there, listening. But as the days went on, they always met there. And so I always just did the same thing, and I smiled, not with the grossness of everything they were talking about, because it wasn't my lifestyle. And so as the days went on, they started talking less and less about those kinds of things and started getting into more real conversations. And so I found that we became really good friends, a lot of us. There were 7 of them, and we just became strong in friendship. But they left that mind of the density, and that's just the way it is. As we're persistent in knowing the way that we are without trying to change anyone, without trying to resist and show that we're righteous or anything like that, then the dynamic changes for us. And that's what I found. I hope that story makes sense there. Hey, Steve, good to see you, my dear friend. Good to see you. And Christine wrote, my neck is bothering me, but the voice within is guiding me. I've just not been listening. Hey, I go there too at times. but my focus is very something another. I couldn't read the rest of it. Thanks for sharing that, though. And oh, my focus is very off right now, and it's important to just make your focus go back on. Yeah, thanks for the hashtag you rock. I appreciate that. Google loves it, and it'll be put up on Google. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Steve. And so it only happens, though, we get to see change in people's that are around us or in our lives. And so, yes, Kim, thank you. And we get to see these things happen when there's no resistance. That's what's important. When there's no resistance within us, and that's what creates a change. Not only for other people, but for ourselves as well. It reinforces it within ourselves. And we don't have to be righteous, we don't have to be stubborn, we don't have to be anything, or knowing otherwise, and I'm not going to change my mind. We don't have to be that way. We can just be human and still enjoy people no matter what they're like. I was in line, I mentioned this story a couple weeks ago, I think. What came to mind is I was in line at the grocery store, and the checker at the cash register, he was giving everyone dirty looks, and he was mad about something. And so it was my turn. I got up there and I saw it. He was the same way with me, being real obstinate. And I just, I looked at him and I said, wow, you're getting slammed today, huh? And he looked at me and went, like that. And then I started getting in a conversation, and he started talking with me. But it may have lasted him just for right then, or it may have lasted him for the rest of the day, but he was no longer of that mind. Out of all the people that were in front of me, and then the people in back that I was leaving and that were next, he was real pleasant. So we can do these things when we're not of that mind. And it's good to keep that in mind as well. So please, know that someone's going through something. It's a life change for them, and it's contributing to all that stuff. And so why contribute to it? And why have the resistance of fighting back, or knowing that they're that way, so we're going to contribute in some way or another. And in any case, my Kim, how is everything going? Please, if you can. Hey, Mac, Lacey, good to see you. Kim, if you can tell me how the situation has been turning out of the person you had me pray for and your family. I'd appreciate that, please. Or if it's understood what the situation was explained, please do. And Sue, my friend, another Sue, she wrote, choosing to act or react within love, not fear and guilt. Well, that's a good one. Choosing to act or react within love, not fear and guilt. Can you talk about that? So, I think that's an awesome question. And I'm not sure if I really react with love. For me, it seems like a control mechanism that is done to control a person or people that are witnessing us. I see when we act with love that it's a control issue. I don't know how else to put that. So what I do is I'll stop myself if I can remember to. And I'll remember that my younger life was reactive. And it was always to fight. That was all the time. I always had a fight within me, physically or verbally or emotionally. I always had a fight. So I won't feed the situation, because the situations we're in is for the purpose of getting reactions and conflict. And now mostly, I'll take a look at the person's knowing. Take a look at the person knowing that they're just either frustrated or confused, and I try to keep it that simple. Oh, good. Kim said, son's doing great, and he's doing better. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. And so I try to keep in mind that someone's going through something, and always pertaining to the question and how to react in, within love and not fear and guilt. I don't practice loving, and a lot of people will tell you that too. I just do not practice loving, and I do know though that the love is a natural dynamic that happens to us as we're appreciating something, or we're admiring something, or we're with someone special. It's a definite thing that happens. It comes forth from us naturally, and as soon as it's just like, all right, define love, and so as you define it, you're not in it because you're thinking. So it has to be a natural act that does happen within us, and it may not always sound like love when we're sharing with someone or whatever, but it is in the other sense that it's coming out and a person is being receptive to it, and they know you're not going to belittle them. They know that you care about situations as you share your life with someone or a situation or a lot of people. It happens naturally. So when you try to define love, that's when you're thinking about it and you're not in it. That's my belief system. So, and it has nothing to do with controlling people by wanting to love someone. Wanting to love them is wanting to listen to them and wanting to be there for them. That's an act of love. And I always stop myself, from the resistance of things. So I won't feed a situation because the situations we're in is for the purpose of getting reactions and then conflicts. And that's just not a real way of being. Now, mostly I'll take a look at the person and knowing that they literally are frustrated or confused. And so, and I give my best to unwrap that. And then there's a satisfaction that comes over them and to you. So I don't have the guilt or the fears or other things most often. There's sometimes that I go through stuff just like anyone else. Then there's my, we're going to go over a couple minutes over because I started a couple minutes late with the computer situation. My friend Patty, she wrote, with all the conversations going on today in the world, can you talk about the importance of silence and the observing the breath of God? And, basically my answer is, I realize that a lot is going on in the world, and it's not finite, it's not etched in stone. And so that means that there's change that's happening. And for me, when I'm not in one of my diatribes, it's most important to listen. That is the part of observation. And this also leads into the truth without our unconscious judgments and predeterminations of the way things are going to be. That too is something we eventually have to meet and work out in our life. So I highly recommend that we, with all that's going on, is to take a look at things objectively, observantly, knowing that, as I always preach, it's not the end of the story. And so it's wondering what more there is to it. And then we're not going to have the worries or the fears or the anxieties or dialogues or whatever of what's happening in the world, because we know it's not all of it. Otherwise, everything would be etched in stone, and God would be in this little box, and that's not the way things are. Diane, my friend, she was wondering, how do we progress enough? How do we progress enough with spirituality so that we don't have to reincarnate back into this planet or anywhere else? When we quit reincarnating, what is our existence? Well, much of this depends upon the soul's direction. In my experience so far in stuff and what I've learned and what I was taught in different ways. And so it's dependent upon the soul's direction. And the soul knows what we're here to work with. No contracts, no, saying, okay, I'm going to just come back one more time or whatever. That's not up to us. And I'm most sure that many of us have asked not to come back many, many times in other times and places. So, and we work with, as we work with different things and work them out, then notice how easily we see life for the moment. As we work things out, as we're presented with something that we're feeling awkward with, and or something that doesn't rub us, the right way or something like that, or someone says something, those are things that we're here to work out, that the soul has brought us into these situations of things that we've developed, either this time or other times and places. And those are the things where we can find the least resistance, and then we don't have to work them out. And so we also, we can also look for, say, the least resistance in various matters and have, similar results. Good question. And let's see what else. She said, when will we quit reincarnating? When we are becoming self-realized, more aware, God-realized within ourselves. And we've gone through a lot of the great initiations that we're here to go through. We're presented with everything in our life of what this time, this place, is to be worked out with. And so, or else it wouldn't be presented to us, in my perception of things, my understanding. And so, and she also wanted to know, why do we have problems physically, mentally, etc., from our ancestral past? Are they in ourselves? How do we know that this is what our problem, this is what is our problem, and how does one heal that? Most often, we're subject to these things because we're just that, being subjective versus objective. The more often we can practice observation and objectivity, the greater our sight and the willingness we have that develops into less dilemma, drama, and trauma of life. There's less resistance. And the memory of shock trauma is stored, as you suggested, in the cells and in the tissue and in the blood. But it can, if we can just observe these things as they come to mind, then we easily are going into the healing crisis. If we observe it, we get out of the shock trauma and of these things that affected us. They don't have to be major shock traumas. They can be just conversations that we've had that hurt us, or watching others having conversations. Those are shock traumas. We can have physical things happen to us. Those are shock traumas. We can witness someone else going through something horrific. That's a shock trauma. These things are stored within us. And what happens is, if we're shocked, they're going to be impacted within us. And so our place is to, as we can learn to be objectively observant, then we can look at this, whatever the situation is, and it won't be instilled with us, and that goes into the healing crisis. It's almost like someone, as I always say this, someone gives you a knuckle sandwich, and you say, ow, that's a shock trauma. But what happens is in the tissue, if you just blow it off, whatever, and don't take it too seriously within you or traumatically within you, because that always varies in degree how traumatic it was for us by the source or by the situation, or if it was a friendly thing, and someone is just giving you a knuckle sandwich, hey, look what I can do, then you have the ability also to go through the healing crisis of processing that, and then it goes into the just like the physical aspect of it, where it goes into black and blue, then it goes into the greens, then it goes into the oranges, then yellows, and just fades away. And you're not prone for that in the future. But if we have the resistances, then we're prone for that in the future, and we develop that as a pattern in our life. So it's important to allow the healing crisis to happen, and that can be more readily available, the healing crisis, if we're observant and objective in life about something and not taking it or seeing where we did take it to heart too deeply. Hey, Jill, good to see you, my dear friend. Thanks for being here. Let's see. So that's what we're about. Oh my God. Okay, so question. Is anyone here, if you can answer fairly quick, we've just got a few more minutes. I want to take this over just a few more minutes because I started late. Is anyone here that's wanting me to work with them? Let me see here. Kim, is anything with you that I can help with? Or let me see who else. Oh boy. I can't see. Anyone, please. Jill, anything you would like me to work with in one thing? Anything in your bodies? Please, anyone. And I'll be more than happy. All right. Well, if not, then all right, Roxy, I can do that. See, I'd have to ask, what it is, and then get into a lot of dialogue about the female issues. If there's something specific you would like me to work with, if you can name it, then I can do that. With the focus, Christina, all I can say is practice. Be a diehard. Get mad at yourself saying, I'm not going to settle for that. Do this. And we can talk later about that too, Christina. I would love to chat with you about the focus. And so, anything physical that's are here, Kim, spot on the leg I'm concerned about. All right, you might sense something happening, Kim, and if you should, let me know, please. In my perception, it has nothing to be concerned about on that spot. So that's my perception, and to be of good cheer. And it's easily rectifiable and nothing to be concerned about. Please don't worry about that. All right, and that's for Kim. I don't know how to work with dryness, Roxy. I don't know what to say about the dryness. And irritated, it might pertain to diet. So that's my perception. All right. I am... blessings to you too. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone, and I'm so looking forward to everyone coming up with the next event. And we also have a, hey Maureen, good to see you, my dear friend. Thanks for being here, Maureen. And so what we're going to do is have a class coming up, and it will be mentioned on the internet, on the website, markerolich.com. Lynn will put up the information. And you guys rock too. Hashtag you guys rock. And blessings to everyone here. So please do take advantage of the courses coming up. And we also have another mini course coming up on self and the understanding of it. And more on healing and spirituality and stuff like that will be coming up as well. Thanks, Lynn. This will be series 2. This will be series 2 that's coming up. It's an awesome class. And all the classes are unique. They're all different. All right, real quickly, what I'd like to do now is a really short meditation, if you don't mind. All right, if you can just relax and close your eyes and just wonder in your mind what the impersonal self might be like. That's yourself within you. Just asking yourself, not adding anything to that sentence or the question. What is the impersonal self within me like? What is it like? Wondering about it. And real briefly, for less than a moment, you'll get little snapshots of understandings. What is the impersonal self within me? What is it like? Wonder about it. And then, if you have the opportunity to try this again and ask that question, what is the impersonal self within me like within me? And you might get a little tiny glimpses of things that move so fast. Try to remember those glimpses, and you'll be shown something more of that. Just observe it. Just watch it. Thank you, everyone. And put in there, hashtag you rock. And then if you see the replay, hit hashtag replay so that I know you watched the replay on this. Thank you so much, everyone. God bless you. It's been such an honor, and I'm looking forward. And Lynn will be putting up the other class we just had as well on the page, community page. Thank you.